You Are Not So Great Britain.
Chapter 5: British Bureaucracy. Hello, this is next of your weekly installment of You Are Not So Great Britain, the podcast in which we are trying to pop up the balloon of British self-satisfaction and show the Britons what's wrong with their country so they can start working to fix it and become great again. My name is Tomasz and I am talking to you from Helsinki, and with me in Florence, Italy is my friend Elisa.
Hello, everyone.
You mentioned in our last podcast something about travel.
Yeah.
You are coming to visit us, which is great, but you will be carrying with you a blue passport holder, which is probably not making your travels any easier. Can you elaborate on that for us?
So, my boyfriend became an uncle this summer. In August, his sister had a baby, and we had been planning on visiting around August or September pretty much ever since we found out about her pregnancy. Because my boyfriend's passport was due to expire in September, he wisely and dutifully sent over his passport to renew back in May, thinking there would be plenty of time, in order to have his passport by August or September at the latest. And I can't remember if the website said to expect a delay of 6 to 8 weeks, I believe. But yeah, he was supposed to send a bunch of documents proving that he lives in Italy, and he sent, I think, a copy of his permesso di soggiorno, which is basically his permission to stay in Italy. And even though the website specifically stated that a copy of permesso di soggiorno would be sufficient proof, after 6 weeks or something like that, they got back to him saying they needed more proof that he lived in Italy, and possibly the actual permesso di soggiorno itself, which my boyfriend needs to live here. So he said, "No, I'm not going to send that." So he started inquiring about what other documents would prove the fact that he lives in Italy. He spoke to his employer to have a letter stating that he works here, he lives here. He got back to the office, the home office, asking,
May I interrupt you a bit
yeah.
because I'm getting confused here.
Mm,
No, the Polish bureaucracy when comes to like renewing your passports can be crazy as well, and I can tell you about that. But that will probably be we need another podcast for that,
mm.
in which we'll be slugging Poland. But just to cut to the most important things, I don't understand why he needs to prove that he lives in Italy to get a British passport. If you are Polish, you just go to any embassy in the world and say, okay, that's my old Polish passport. It expires. Can I have a new one?
Mm.
And they check, okay, this guy is a Polish citizen, and they give me a new
Yeah.
passport.
I wonder.
Why he need to prove all those things to get new British passport?
I am not 100% sure, but so it could either be because they have a vendetta against people who live the UK, and I will get to that later because it becomes interesting. But I'm not sure if in this case it's because he did it, how can I say, remotely, let's say. He didn't go to an embassy because he would have to go to Rome and he couldn't be bothered. So he pretty much sent over his documents to the UK in order for the process to take place there. I don't know if that's why they wanted proof.
Maybe, I
That
guess.
could be, yeah. But yeah.
In Poland, you have to go in person either to the special office in Poland or to embassy or consulate in the world. But then we are in European Union, so if say there's no Polish embassy in your country, you can go to any of European embassies and get it sorted there.
I see, yeah. Well, be what it be. Well, be what it be. He before he sent another application, he got in touch with the office again, asking, so if I send over these documents before I send them, before I try again, can you confirm this will be enough for me to prove my residency? And they said, yeah, sure. He asked, can I send these by email? I'll scan them and send them by email because you already have all of the other documents. I can just add them to my file. No, it has to be the by the post. Okay, fine. So he sent them. And again, nothing happened. Weeks went by until at some point this summer, he got a message. The home office said, because we haven't heard from you in a while concerning your application, we're closing it. And he panicked. He called them and he said, you haven't heard from me because it's taking forever for the additional documents to get to your office, but it's on its way. I can prove it. I have the receipt of when I sent it. And they said, oh, okay, terribly sorry about that. Well, what I can do, I can add a message, notification to your file saying that the documents are on their way, and hopefully the employee that has to close it will see it and won't close it. So yeah, very reassuring. And then that very same day, he got confirmation that the documents did reach the office safely. So they reopened the application. And again, weeks went by and nothing happened. After 4 weeks, he messaged them and they said, yeah, no, we're still working on it. So more weeks went by and he pretty much started stalking them, sending emails, calling, and they said, oh, we can try to push it forward. We can try to contact the expedite team so that they mark it as a priority. We'll try to do that. If you don't hear anything else, get in touch with us, or you can get in touch with the expedite team themselves. So more weeks went by and he contacted the expedite team again, and they said, oh no, we only prioritize cases, files of people who are applying from within the UK, not if they're applying from abroad. And that's what I meant when I was talking about them having a vendetta against people living abroad.
I see.
Yeah, so, and also he was, I think because they, at that point, the, expected delay of, maybe it was 10 weeks, the expected delay of 10 weeks had very well been surpassed. He lodged a complaint and they said, oh, but because we closed and then reopened the application, it's still under 10 weeks technically, so you can't do anything about it. And yeah, that brings us to, I think last week it was, where he finally got his blue passport. Actually, no, it was this week. It was on Tuesday. It was on Tuesday. And yeah, he's the proud owner of a blue passport now, a process that started in May and it's finally completed only now in November.
Yeah, I think the topic of our today's podcast should be British bureaucracy,
Yeah,
because that's bringing some memories to me.
yeah.
And first thing I'm thinking is that it's good for him he's British, because if he's not, then he will have a problem because the settled status comes in.
Mm.
And I've observed the guy I know who is Polish, who moved from Ireland to Britain a couple of years back, I think it was, and he wanted to exchange his driving license from Irish or Polish, I don't remember, into British. And to do that, you need to go, because of course, as you know, because you have your settled status too, you don't get any physical proof of it. It's just somewhere in the system. And if the system actually happens to work, you go up there, you log in, you generate some code, then you give that code to someone else, and they use that code to log in, and then the system says to them yes or no. Yes, they have settled status. No, they don't, which is completely ridiculous, but all right. But the problem with it is that the code is only valid for 30 days. And when he was trying to exchange this driving license, he was sending this code, the check, because they still use checks in Great Britain, which is another funny thing.
Mm.
But he was sending all the relevant documents to DVLA, and then, like 5 months later, 5 weeks later, he was getting back a letter saying, "I'm sorry, but your settled status code is not valid. Please restart everything from
Oh
scratch
my.
by providing us a new code." And that happened like 3 or 4 times until he got angry. He called there and he found someone who agreed to treat his case as a priority, because this code is only valid for 30 days, but DVLA needs like 5 weeks to process this application for exchanging driving license. So whenever they were sitting down to it, the code has been already expired. So they were just sending that back to him. But I had so many adventures with DVLA that we can do like 10 chapters of that. But I just give you some best stories. So, first, you mentioned that your boyfriend had to send original documents. They wanted me to do that as well. And I did it once, and they lost my driving license for 6 months. And
Okay.
then I just got it in post one day because my driving license was Polish. So after that, I don't trust them, and I never send them any original documents.
Yeah.
And they, of course, tell me it is impossible to send, to do anything without sending original documents. And then I call them or write email to them, and I said, I cannot send you my original driving license because I'm a truck driver and I may be going abroad anytime, and I need my driving license to drive abroad. And they said, okay, yeah, we understand, and just send us a copy, that will be all right. So what's the point of that if you can just send a copy after all? I don't know, but that's British bureaucracy for you. Speaking of pointless things,
Mm.
I've been moving to Helsinki recently, as we all know,
Yeah.
and I bought myself a van, which is 7.5 meters long. It's the biggest crafter they are, because I want to make it into a motorhome one day.
Nice.
And for some reason, when you book with one ferry company, it classifies it as a freight. So I booked it. I gave the length in meters, and then I got my ticket back, and it said it's freight ticket. So I've contacted this ferry line on the like chat, and I said, "Listen, I'm traveling as a private citizen, carrying my private stuff. I'm moving my own home, and you classify me as freight." And they said, "No, no, don't worry. It's only because your van is longer than 7 meters, because private vans cannot be longer than 7 meters." Which I don't know why,
Okay.
because obviously I got a private van and it's 7.5 liters. So obviously they can be longer than 7 meters. But also, I arrived to Britain on the same van. It was still 7.5 meters long when I arrived to Britain, and I had no problems at all.
Yeah, it didn't get any longer.
Okay, but they assured me that it will be no problems at all.
Yeah.
So I'm driving happily. I'm arriving in Dover. I'm pulling up to this booth, and the lady says, "I need your goods movement reference number." I'm like, "What?" So now you need some goods movement reference number because of Brexit. It's of course all bullshit, because I used to be a van driver. I've been driving over the channel all the time, and all you needed was a CMR document, which is just like international like collection delivery freight document, which is 1 page long, and you just put what you carry from where to where and who are you, and basically that's it. So she said, I won't let you through this on this freight ticket without this goods reference movement number, whatever. And I was like, okay, so what do I do now? And she says, like, either you get yourself this number, or you can go to this another booth like 5 lines across, and you book another ticket for tourists, and you will pay like 186 instead of 125 you already paid. So somehow, if you pay extra, you can be let through without this goods reference movement number, whatever.
Hmm.
But if you paid this ticket, you just booked it on the website. It wasn't to be frank, it wasn't their website. I used some like a broker because it has better price. But still, I was assured by them, by the ferry company, it won't be any problems. But okay, I'm not paying 185. So I reversed in. I'm parked in Dover. Luckily, it was middle of the night, so it was pretty empty. But I'm sitting in one of the lines that lead to like this booth that is closed. So I got like trucks going on my left, trucks going on my right, police or whatever security vans driving around. Nobody is bothered that there's a guy in the van sitting in the middle of the port of Dover. So much for security.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on my mobile trying to find this number. Okay, so to get this number, you need some other number first, EOR number or whatever. Okay, how to get this EOR number? So to get this EOR number, you need to log into your government gateway. Oh, okay, I had this like 10 years ago when I was opening my company. Okay, I probably have that. So I logged in, I applied for this EOR number, and that said that it would probably arrive within 30 minutes. So I said, okay, 30 minutes, I still have plenty of time to the ferry. So, okay, I'm sitting here waiting, but I was bored and I was browsing Twitter, and I shared my story. And some guy reached out to me. Actually, it was several guys, but this guy was first. And he was like, listen, I got this spedition company. I will set up this number for you. What's
Okay.
your registration number? What's the make of the car? What you're carrying? Okay, I will just write this. It's like verbal declaration. Okay, that's you. That's your number. You can go. And I said, okay, so what do I owe you? And says, nothing. I'm doing that only because I want to prove how ridiculous it is. And I was like, okay, but aren't you afraid that you are just putting like your company's reputation to give this number to someone you never seen, just some random dude from the internet? So it's no, because it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with me. You just need to show this number. If there be any problems, it's your problem. So, okay, I drove back to this booth. I gave the lady this number and she just let me on the ferry and I just drove off the ferry on the other end. No problems whatsoever. What's the point of this? Brexit was about cutting the red tape, no?
I was
But
thinking exactly the same words. Also, when we moved to Italy from England, we had, quite a lot of stuff to bring over. So we contacted a company, a moving company, and we were expecting, it would be a pain. But what they said, we were like, what? We pretty much had to fill out a form where we had to list each and every one of our items down to, I don't know, t-shirts to, I don't know, like we brought a trunk and everything that was in the trunk one by one with the individual weight of each item. It was a nightmare. And I was thinking, wasn't it? I mean, well, the point of Brexit wasn't the point cutting on the red tape, and yet here I
yeah,
am.
yeah. I was told I don't need to do that because I was carrying my own stuff, but I was still advised it will be better than if you do the list. So we actually did the list, which was much simpler, like one box clothes, one box like box number two books, box number three, I don't know, socks, box number four dishes, and so on. So we did a list like that. But
Yeah,
there is
maybe
another
I.
thing.
Oh, sorry, no, I was just going to add. Maybe the guy gave me not completely, you know.
No, no, that's a different thing because the guy was doing that for hire and reward. He was giving a service, so that's different rules. I was
Hmm.
carrying my own private stuff,
Okay, yeah,
so
yeah.
that's different. But if we already speak about British bureaucracy, you know what's the most annoying thing is that there are no longer offices that you can go and chat with someone who knows what they are doing and they give you advice and then help you out. And I'm dealing with that in Finland right now because there is a Brexit related confusion because I'm importing my car, and to import your car there are two paths. One path is if you import your car that was first registered in European Union, and other part is when you import your car from outside the European Union, and mine is both because it's a British car and
Mm.
it's over 10 years old. So it was first registered in European Union, but now
Oh.
it's imported from outside. So as you can guess, it's very confusing. So I went to the tax office and I got like three people sitting together at the desk, checking everything and trying to help me. And they helped me out. And I got decision how much I'm paying for my import tax and everything. And in Britain, it drives me crazy that like say DVLA, we mentioned it already. There used to be office in Glasgow, and when they were delaying my registration paper for my car, I just went there, I explained my problem, and the guy actually printed me a letter with some stamp saying like, this guy, yes, this is his car, the documents are stuck in Swansea, but please consider this as a registration document. So he basically gave me like a temporary registration document in form of a letter. And now it's impossible. You just call there, and they are some call centers with people who never spoke with you before and who will never speak with you again, who have not a clue, who doesn't really care, who just go by the script. And if your case happened to be like outside of the script, they are completely lost. They cannot do nothing. And you just waste hours and hours and hours and you cannot sort it. Like in Poland, my bank was notoriously blocking my card for some reason. And it took me weeks to sort it out with them. And, it was just madness. I spent several hours listening to this crappy hold up music in the call centers.
That's the
And
worst.
yeah, and it's just ridiculous. And also, when they do mistakes, you cannot do nothing. We had the situation once with council tax in Glasgow that for some reason they mixed the address and somehow we lived in one address and other couple of us was living at the same address but one floor down. And we were getting those letters sent to us, and the neighbor was getting the letters sent to us, which he was giving to us because he knew our names. And that meant that we were responsible for tax for two flats, even despite the fact that he was paying already his council tax, but they wanted to charge us for his flat and for our flat. And it took me, I think, 15 months or whatever of heavy fighting with them because when they initially sorted it out, they sorted it in such a way that they merged these two accounts into ones and they expected us to pay double tax for this flat, which of course was never happening. So even though we were paying council tax of the proper rate for our flat, they sent bailiffs after us. And the bailiffs were helping us. It was like the bailiff, like, or messenger in arms or whatever they are called in Scotland, were calling us and asking like, have you had this sorted yet? No. Okay, I will try to delay it as much as possible. And then the same guy was calling me back from his private mobile and said like, listen, like off the record, this is the phone number, try, maybe they will be able to help. So we had bailiffs trying to help us out because they know how disastrous organization it is. And yet it was like impossible. And funny thing, that wasn't even once. I had the same situation with DVLA once when I had 3 points of my on my driving license, and again there were like two records of me, and they merged them together, and I had suddenly 6 points of my license because they just added 3 points from this account to 3 points from this account, and they suddenly it made 6 points. And then I tried to call them and they said, okay, we will like give you the new driver number, we will start a new account. And they started this new account and suddenly I had 9 points. And you know what, I just gave up at this point. I still had this there were this counterpart licenses back then, and still had this counterpart license with 3 points on it, and I was just using that. I was showing that to everyone because that were the only real points. And again, you can call them, there's only call center, you cannot go there, you cannot speak with anyone who has any clue about things. And ah,
Yeah. Yeah, that sound is exactly the sound I would make.
and you are Italian, you are familiar with some complicated
Yeah,
bureaucracy.
yeah. I mean, okay, I'll be honest. Italian bureaucracy most of the time is still worse than English bureaucracy, but especially since Brexit, things have become not just more complicated, but so confusing because, as you said, lots of people who are supposed to know what's going on and what, we're supposed to do, they actually have no clue. I mean, when you were talking, I thought of, I think it was last year, there was a time when all those cases of people being sent back when they traveled to the UK, when they actually had a right to enter the country. And when they, tried to prove their point, they showed the documents, like the documents that they needed. They said, but I don't know, I'm here for a work conference. I'm just going to be here for a couple of days or whatever. And apparently, people at border control had no clue about the rules. They just had no clue, and they just sent people back randomly.
Yeah, this is also because my passport is now almost expired, and I am not sure if I will make it get a new one before. But I got my Polish ID, like European ID, which is good to travel all above the European Union.
Mm.
But if I wanted to go to Scotland, because I have my settled status, they'll still need to approve this, like accept this EU ID
Yeah,
as my document. But people don't know that, and they just don't care. And I had several instances. I've seen them online, or some of my friends had these problems, like where the Flixbus or Ryanair crew just refuse people right to board, even if
mm,
they have tickets, they have settled status, they got their like Polish ID or from some other country, and they said no, you need a
yeah,
passport. So the law is getting so complicated now that like your ordinary guy whose job is to sit at the gate at the airport and check people's passport, he may not know all these nuances related to Brexit.
yeah,
And you know what scares me really?
yeah. Also, because
Because
considering that to prove you have settled or pre-settled status, you don't have physical proof. You don't have a document you can show. You just have to hope that the servers that they check are all working properly, and if there's a glitch or something, you might be sent back.
or your phone died of the battery or something. Yeah, but see how much simpler it would be if there were physical proofs of settled status.
Yeah,
You would go to this Ryanair gate and say, like, listen, I don't have a passport. I have my Polish ID, but this is okay because I also have my settled status card. And then the girl can do check. Okay, passport, no. Settled status plus EU ID, yes. Okay, but because it's so complicated, it's just getting more difficult. And I'm feeling sorry about all those like hauliers and importers and exporters who have
mm,
to deal with this Brexit shit now, because now imagine all this new Brexit stuff needs new stuff,
yes, yeah,
but spelled with the other letter. And like custom agents, when I was going abroad, we were rarely using customs. Actually, I was using them a few times because I was going to Norway or Switzerland, which were outside the European custom union. But apart from that, there was this like tiny shed in Dover with like a truck park for, I don't know, 40 trucks or 20 or whatever. It was really small, and like trucks going to like Morocco or Russia or Kazakhstan or Norway had to go there and do some paperwork. Everyone else was just driving straight onto the ferry. And now every single truck coming in or coming out of Britain needs to go through this customs. And I've seen on the government websites that they need 50,000 new people to deal with that. And now imagine the whole industry is relying on 50,000 people who are just brand new to the job. They had no experience. They were freshly trained in this confusing rules that are still changing all the time. Because let's remember, Brexit hasn't been fully implemented yet. They
mm,
still are
true.
work in progress. I really feel sorry
Yeah,
for all those transport people who need to deal with this
yeah,
shit now.
yeah. But hey, see it this way: Brexit is creating a lot of new job offers. In fact, not long ago, I saw that on gov.uk, a new civil service job offer came up, and I couldn't believe the title. It's a job offer for head of uncertainty and scenarios.
Well, I wouldn't like to have this job, but we have also to remember that Jacob Rees-Mogg got a new job some time ago, and he was a Brexit benefit minister.
Yeah,
So, you know.
yeah. It sounds like one of those made up job titles that you find in Harry Potter books.
Well, especially that there is absolutely nothing to do because nobody was even able to show us a single benefit of Brexit so
Yeah,
far. So,
yeah. Still waiting to hear these what these benefits are.
so I think we covered the topic of British bureaucracy, but I think last time we remember to tell people what to improve. But I think when it comes to housing, it's pretty obvious. Just just get better houses,
Yeah.
which is, well, that's not so obvious, but it's easy to say, harder to do. But what do you think can be improved with bureaucracy so life in Britain is easier?
Go back in time and don't vote for Brexit. I don't know.
I think closing local offices when you actually can go and sort your stuff, that was a big mistake
Oh
because I've
yeah,
been
yeah.
sorting some things in Poland recently. I've been sorting some things in Finland, and you just go there, you take the number from the machine, you sit down on the bench, you read the paper for 15 minutes, then you are called to some friendly clerk who deals with your stuff. If she or he doesn't know, they go next doors to their manager, ask questions, come back with a solution. And when your only way to deal with the bureaucracy is through the phone, it's a disaster. Actually, I know we were already on our way out, but I have another funny story. For some reason, Britain still pays me my universal credit, which I never applied for it, and okay, I haven't been working for my last month in Britain, so I'm entitled to that. I've checked, but they still want to pay me. And then at the same time, they say I'm not entitled to that, which is wrong, as I checked that, and they demand I pay that back to them.
Ah,
And because I told them I moved abroad, they closed my account, and now it's impossible for me to contact them because there's no email address.
oh God.
There is no way to contact them in the system of this universal credit website because as long as you have your account closed, you cannot send messages through this way. And you got this like 0300 or 800 number which you can call, but it only works if you're in Britain. I cannot call this number either from my Finnish phone number or from my British phone number because I'm abroad. So I'm unable to contact them in any way. And they should be at least an email. I can send email and that's get directed to people who deal with that stuff. No, there's like no way for me to contact them. I spoke with this Job Center Plus account on Twitter, and they promised that I will be contacted by them, which never happens. I'm still waiting. So actually, I'm checking now if they can chase for that me for that when I'm living abroad or not, because I'm not willing to deal this bureaucratic hell anymore.
Yeah,
And I know that I was entitled to. I never applied for that, but since I was entitled, they paid that to me. I'm fine with that. I don't want to hear from them anymore, and I think I will just cut my ties with them, and that's it. But this is the problem. There's no way for human interaction. This needs to be
yeah.
fixed because
That is very
telephonic
true.
call center is it's also stressing people out because if you have to like drive to the town and sit in this waiting room, you sit there, you chat with people, you
Yeah,
get a coffee from your coffee machine, you read your paper, and it may be annoying, but you can at least like get busy with something.
yeah, and especially for old people, it must be difficult and frustrating.
Well, I'm not that old and I'm just driven
I
crazy.
wasn't talking about you.
Yeah, sorry, but I was driving mad because I was to sit on this mobile listening, joking, for 90 minutes of hold up music every time I wanted to speak with someone in the bank. And, this like annoying tune playing in like Edison uh, machine quality, it's just annoying enough on its own. and then they mock you up by interrupting that every 20 seconds to tell you that your call is very important for them, which is just after like an hour of waiting, it just sounds like they just want to piss you up. And then you finally get connected with someone who says, oh yeah, I know, but I cannot do anything about that. I need to switch you to another department. And then it starts all over again. And then you do the circle. And I had one phone call to HSBC like that, which took me 3 hours. I was on the phone for 3 hours, and they just switched me to different departments. And at the end, I ended up with the first lady. It just drives you mad. And you cannot focus on anything else, because you still need to listen to the scrappy music in case the agent actually answers your phone. And you cannot like go and listen for a podcast. You cannot really drive, because what if they finally answer and you have to talk with them and show them some paperwork or whatever, like look through your paperwork to give them some data. You cannot get busy like washing dishes, because then they answer and your hands are wet. It's just such a waste of time. So the call centers, we need to get rid of that, get some human level interaction, and also give European citizens a physical proof of settled status. That's my advice when it comes to bureaucracy.
Yeah, yeah. But I worked in a library, in a public library in Cambridge, and I remember how frustrated elderly people were about whenever they had to get anything done from, I don't know, parking, oh, how do you call that? Parking spots, to paying the bills, paying a fine, that they had to go through yeah, like automated phone calls or chats, and they weren't really able to handle that. So that was very frustrating for them.
Oh yeah, and when we are calling about those bots,
Yeah.
there's this famous clip from Stone about the two Scottish guys who wants to go to 11th floor on the lift.
You ever tried voice recognition technology?
No.
They don't do Scottish accents.
11.
Could you please repeat that?
11!
11. 11.
11!
Could you please repeat that?
11.
Whose idea was this? 11! If you don't understand the lingo, away back home to your own country.
Ooh, is that talk now, is it? Away back to your own country?
Oh, don't start, Mr. Bleeding Heart. How can you be racist to a lift?
Please speak slowly and clearly.
11. And this is how it
11.
works for many Scottish people who really
11.
got difficult accents for the automated services. And not only Scottish people, but as you can probably hear, my accent is also a bit not original English. And I do still make plenty of grammar mistakes even after all those years, because I never learned English in any organized way. I was just picking it up as I was going. Whenever I encounter some automatic machine, I just keep repeating, I want to speak with an agent, and until this machine puts me in touch with the agent, because trying to talk to this machine is completely pointless for me. So that's another good argument. Yes, let's get rid of that, and just, or let's leave it if it works for some people, but still there should be alternative ways to interact with government institutions, and that ways should be an actual living person in actual
Mm,
office, when you
yeah,
can go and talk on the human level.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so at least this time we haven't forgot to give Britons some advice how to fix their
yeah,
country,
yeah. That's important.
because because we are the experts. No, of course I'm laughing, but I think that's the main issue, that you think that it's normal what's happening in Britain, until you get out and you start to deal with institutions or problems
Mm,
in another countries, as we were talking about in our previous chapter about housing. Until you see how people live in other countries, you won't see what a terrible situation is on the British housing market.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, thank you for listening. It was Tomasz and Elisa speaking with two opposite ends of Europe. And we invite you for next week for another Britain bashing related fun and entertainment.
Bye.
Bye.